Welcome back to Believe in Jets, a New York Jets podcast on the Believe Podcast Network. My name is Rami Lavi, and joining me today, my guy, former Jets running back, Bilal Powell, BP. It's been too long. What's up, dude?
What's going on?
I'm just chilling, ready for football. I feel like it's been forever since we've talked. It's been forever since we've watched the Jets play. That's not necessarily a bad thing. The detox was kind of nice, but they're back at training camp. They're back at OTAs, and now you're starting to hear the things. And I've seen two things. So they've had a quiet offseason relatively, right? Considering they fired their head coach, brought in a new quarterback, brought in a new GM, brought in a new head coach. They didn't make the splashy moves. They didn't even make the splashy moves in the draft, which we'll get to a little bit later, I'm sure. But sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes when you don't have the overhype, sometimes when you come in a little bit quieter into training camp, that's the right way to do it, right?
I think so. I think Aaron Glenn is pretty much saying that he doesn't need the superstars. He just need the guys that are going to buy in to what he's doing to rebuild that culture and organization. I think it's looking a lot like how the Patriots started it. Do you remember? Like, I don't remember too many superstars going over there. Very rarely do you hear the superstars going over to New England. You just get a bunch of guys who go over there and buy into the organization and buy into the culture of what's going on from the head coach. I think I'm starting to see that from Aaron Glenn. Um, Aaron Rodgers was one of the things that pretty much stood out to me with Aaron Glenn. He's like, it's not about Aaron. We're not going to make it about Aaron this offseason. We're going to make it about the whole entire organization. And I like that coming from Aaron Glenn. And I think we're going to see this organization go in the right direction.
It's an interesting thing because you talk about how the Patriots did it. Now, the Patriots had one thing that made them different than any other team, and that's
Yeah.
Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback ever, the greatest football player ever, maybe. So that does change everything. I don't know if Justin Fields is that, but yes, you said the word culture when you talk about Aaron Glenn and getting guys who will buy into the culture. And one thing that the Patriots did is they found guys who knew how to win, who in late game situations, they didn't blow teams out, other than maybe 2007 when they blew everyone out and then ultimately they lose the Super Bowl to the Giants in a close game. The other Patriot teams, they never dominated you. You always felt like you were in the game at the end, but they made all the plays at the end of the game that were the winning plays. That might be the shift that Aaron Glenn is trying to bring to the Jets.
I think so. But in order to have that, you have to have toughness. I think
Oh, for sure.
he's trying to reestablish the toughness of the New York Jets culture. I mean, I remember coming in with Rex Ryan. It was ground and pound and tough defense. I think Aaron Glenn is trying to get it back to that because he's always mentioned the two running backs that we have. So that's letting you know he's looking to really run the football. Obviously, you have Garrett Wilson on the outside, but he's trying to say, hey, we're going to build this thing from inside out. And what I mean by that is the box. We're going to be able to run the football, and that's going to open up the pass game. And then we're going to have a good aggressive defense. I think he's really trying to change that. And what I'm getting from him when I'm listening to all of his interviews, he's not coming in trying to be these players' friends. It's like, hey, you coming in. I really like you as a player. Um, I've heard good things about you as a person. I want you to be a good teammate. But ultimately, at the end, it's buying into what we're doing in this building. And I'm getting that from him. And I think they're going to win a lot of football games that way.
Two things from Aaron Glenn that I've seen a shift in him so far. And this is just a learning process. It's his first time as a head coach. The first thing was he was very combative. The first time when he came in to the media, you said he's not trying to make any friends. To the media, he was combative. They would come at him and he'd go at them first. No, I'm going to come after you. I'm going to, when you ask me about Aaron Rodgers, I'm going to go after you. It didn't work. It doesn't work because the second it might seem like a tough guy act, but the second you start losing games, it doesn't work. Someone must have gotten in his ear because training camp, he's been a little lighter, a little humorous, funny, things like that. That's the one thing I've noticed. That's a shift so far that I really like. The other things are things that Connor Hughes brought up. Number one, he showed a video of them doing receiving drills, the offensive linemen doing receiving drills. How many times do we see Penei Sewell roll out for Detroit and make a play? So they're running more things. The other thing from Aaron Glenn that I love, you talk about having a toughness, running the football mentality. The Jets were one of the teams that voted for keeping the tush push. They wanted to keep the play in. And guess who the third best quarterback in the NFL at running the tush pushes? It's been Justin Fields behind, obviously, Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen. The third best quarterback at doing it is Justin Fields. That's a toughness mentality. That's something that proves, guess what? it's not 1st and 10 for us. It's 1st and 8 because on third or fourth down, we're going to get those 2 yards because we're going to out tough you.
Yeah, and it's hard to be the offense when their mindset is, hey, we're going all four downs, not just three. So to defend
Yeah.
an offense for four downs is very tough and gives them an opportunity to extend the drive. Hey, and let's be honest, he's loosening up now with everything because he's established the mentality that he wants, and he's probably seeing that with his players. He's seeing the guys probably showing up 100% attentive, attendance in OTAs, which is very rare for a lot of teams. He's probably seeing that, and now he's like, okay, I see the guys buying in, so I can kind of let loose the leash, okay? And he has an understanding of it. I mean, the guy came in as a player, one, and then he came in as in the scouting department. So not only does he knows, how to play the game, he understands the type of players he needs in his organization. And a lot of those guys that you need in your organizations are the guys that aren't the superstar players, the guys that fit the schemes, and the guys that are good teammates and good, guys that are going to just buy in. And I'm telling you right now, I feel it in my bones. I know I said this last time when Robert first took the job, but I really believe in what Aaron Glenn is trying to do.
I hope you're right. I'm not trying to be a hater by any means, of course. And look, another thing that Connor Hughes tweeted, and he does a great job. He said you could sense the culture shift. You feel like something is changing. So you love to hear things like that, and you see certain things with Aaron Glenn that he's clearly that they're intentional. Another thing that Connor Hughes also tweeted out, they're trying to get the ball to Garrett Wilson in creative ways. Tanner Eckstrand is doing things that we haven't seen the last couple of years. Aaron Rodgers just wants you to run and he's going to throw a back shoulder throw. That's all he wants. Guess how many times we're going to see DK Metcalf turning around for that back shoulder throw in Pittsburgh? And we'll get to Rodgers in Pittsburgh a little bit later. But a concerted effort to get the ball to your best player on offense, like that's a great thing, right? Like that's intentional. Those are things that we talk about when you talk about intentions. The other side of this, and I'm starting to buy in. You know how I feel about ownership. You know that I thought this team needed a veteran head coach, and all that's fine. What are you building towards? And this is the problem that I sometimes have with this, and maybe you can answer because the Detroit model, quote unquote, everyone talks about. Aaron Glenn came in with Dan Campbell in Detroit, and they took an organization that was in the dumps and they turned it around, and they did it with toughness and they did it with mentality. And what did they win? Nothing. They went to the NFC Championship game 2 years ago. They had a huge lead and they blew it. Last year, they got dog walked at home in as the best team in the NFL. In a home game, they got destroyed by a rookie, gave up basically 50 points. Aaron Glenn's defense gave up 50 points. So, what is it translated to? A couple of good regular seasons? Like, is that the goal or is the goal to win? And I think a big part of that is the quarterback. In Detroit, when they traded Matthew Stafford, the plan wasn't to stick with Jared Goff. The plan was to go draft a young quarterback. And then they liked what they saw in Goff, so they decided to stick with him. But ultimately, in those big games, he hasn't been good enough. What is the plan at quarterback for this team? Because you could build mental toughness, you could build a mentality, and it comes back to what we started with. We said the Patriots, right? The Patriot way. That was how they did things. They had Tom Brady. Justin Fields is not Tom Brady. We know what he is at this point. Is this the plan? Do they fully believe in Justin Fields? Is that going to be the plan moving forward? Because it seems to me like it is. And even if that's the plan, I don't know how you're going to win enough football games, or even if you make the playoffs, I don't see how you win a championship with Justin Fields as your quarterback.
Honestly, I think he was the best available quarterback to fit what they wanted to do.
And
And
you wanted
now,
him, by the
and I
way.
wanted Justin. I
You
wanted
texted
Justin,
me.
and I wanted Milrow. I said, hey,
Exactly.
get Justin for a couple of years, bring in Milrow. I think the game has gone to that dual threat quarterback. Like that, for defense to account for a quarterback makes a huge difference with game schemes. Your defense coordinator has to do extra film study to find a way to account for an extra runner in the box. I think that puts a lot of stress on a lot of defenses. On top of being an aggressive defense on Aaron Glenn's side. So you're saying we want to get the ball back, and then we want to be able to ground and pound. And then if you want to load the box, we want to give it to Garrett Wilson. It's not, oh, we want to give it to Garrett Wilson first when we know you're double coverage, and then we can't run the football. So I think they're putting this thing together the right way. I would have loved to see them go get Milrow. I told you I thought they were going to get him. I think from a quarterback standpoint, you want to have a guy behind your starting guy that mimics him as close as possible. And who mimics him the best coming out of that draft, other than Milrow? So, obviously Justin Fields, I was excited that we got him. Um, also, adding the tackle and going to get an offensive guy. I was hoping that they were going to go get a defensive tackle, but I just see what they're trying to do from that standpoint. I think they're working very strategically. With Aaron Glenn being a guy that was in the scouting department, I think a lot of the picks and a lot of guys that they're going to bring in is going to be more of a bigger thought, man. And bringing in, it's not the best available player like the New York Jets have previously been doing. They used to go get the best available player. No, I think Aaron Glenn said, "Hey, who's the best player that fits what we're doing overall?" And we're starting to see that.
The problem is once you get to the playoffs and you're down in the fourth quarter, you're down 4 points, who's going to lead you? Who's that quarterback? Now they seem to think that that guy could be Justin Fields because I understood bringing him in and trying to shift the offense. But if you were going to go draft a young quarterback behind him, like you said, that made sense. But to bring him in and not draft anyone behind him, not even go after Shador Sanders, who people were considering one of the best quarterbacks in the draft, and all of a sudden there in the fifth round. Like it seemed like a no-brainer as these quarterbacks are falling to just take a shot at one of them. And yet everything they did in the draft tells you more that no, we're fully buying in. And then a week later, Jordan Travis retires, right? And so,
Well, maybe that was the game plan until he surprised everyone with retirement.
oh, but that's not good enough. If you didn't know going into the draft that this guy had retirement at least on the table, like, then you're not doing your job properly, no?
I mean, it's hard to, obviously I've heard guys, David Garrard, you remember him? You
Hmm.
remember the old time guy, man? He was out there full time OTAs, being a leader. And then all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, I'm retiring, by the way. I can't do this anymore." Like, so it's hard for a coach to get a sense of that when, from a mental standpoint, a lot of guys don't want to talk about that side of it. Like, you don't know what he dealt with mentally. And a lot of guys don't express that because this is a tough guy sport and, you want to suppress the mental health side of it. But dealing with injuries and, dealing with identity crisis and all these different things plays a part in it, man. And, I think it was a surprise to everyone, even Jordan. You don't want to say I'm done. The feelings tell you you're done.
Yeah.
The emotions, the love and the passion tells you you're done, or your body's telling you you're done. So mentally, you're like, I'm done. So, I think it was a surprise for them. And I don't think they were planning on just going to get Justin Fields without bringing in a backup quarterback because they thought they had their guy in Jordan Travis. So it's the game. It's part of the game. We'll see how things go in training camp. Hopefully that room is competitive. I hate to say, hey, he's the starting guy because it doesn't push the starting guy. So, I want to see how competitive they can be, and building a roster where the next guy up is going to push the guy in front of him. So, we'll see how things play out. I'm trying to get up there too, man. I need to get to a
Oh,
practice to see how things are going.
well, you got to let me know because we'll link up and we should go together if you're going to come up here because that would be fun. I do want to see what it's like out there. And, something that the last few regimes have had is they like to have the veterans out there. I saw Tiki out with the Giants at OTAs. I think that's a great thing. So, yeah, they should definitely get you out there. I think that's a good thing to have the pride and the tradition in the organization, although it's been a losing organization for the last 15 years or so, but it would be
Yeah.
nice to see them at least lean into, hey, the culture and hey, this is the new shift. You guys come along with us as part of the new shift. That would be great for the organization. Other than Fields in the draft, I love what they did. Their offensive line is literally the mentality that we talked about. They are going to try and run the ball down your throat. They're going to try and out tough you. So when you talk about a guy like Membu, and now you have him on one side and Fashanu on the other side, along with AVT and along with John Simpson and along with Joe Tippmann, that's five offensive linemen that are incredible. Now, a guy Mark Schlereth, who used to play, obviously used to be an offensive lineman in the league. He talked about how last year the Jets were actually really good in pass pro, but in run protection and run scheme they were terrible. And he thought it was the scheme that the offensive line was not good because they didn't have a good scheme. And we talked about this how many times. Braylon Allen and Brees Hall, and we can't run the ball. What's going on? Is there something looking back now that you saw in the Jets run scheme that you think they did wrong? And now with Tanner Eckstrand and this new mentality that they have, this new offensive line, or at least one offensive lineman is new, because it feels like they had the talent last year, right? The only guy they lost was Morgan Moses, and Morgan Moses is one of their best offensive linemen last year. So do you think it was scheme that they weren't able to run the ball last year?
I think it was scheme. You can't be a good pass pro because pass pro is a lot harder than running game.
Hmm.
Let's be honest. Even though the running game is a hard part of the game, pass pro and any offensive line to tell you to set back in the pass protection set and have a guy run at you full speed to get to the quarterback is a lot harder than attacking him off the ball in
Yeah.
a run game scheme. Now, from a scheme of things, I did tell you I think we lack creativity, and in the NFL, these guys and these defensive coordinators have seen these schemes over and over and over again, and it's up to the offensive coordinator to find ways to get to certain schemes from different looks, maybe creating numbers and angles based on shifts and motions and multiple things that you can do. Unbalanced sets and or formations. There's so many things that you can do, but I don't think the New York Jets game plan was to run the football with Aaron Rodgers back there.
No,
Their
definitely
thing was to
not.
sit back and let Aaron Rodgers be Aaron Rodgers. So I think that they lacked the the uh, the game plan of implementing the run game. Like I've been a part of a lot of offenses where it comes down to game plan. It comes down to breaking down the opponent based on the structure of their defense. How do you really want to go into the game attacking, pass or run? If it's run, then you find ways to beat the team. And the way I do it is like I said, you always want to take from previous games. When you're game planning, you go back 4 games and you watch 4 games of your opponent and you find those explosive runs and you implement that and you find a way to put that in your game plan and you find a way to get that look, those explosive runs early in the game and what we call the first 15 offensive coordinators, the first 15 plays that we want to see that we think are good looks, or we line the defense up and get them in the prediction. So you want to see that more often. It's to me is a pride thing to not want to take from an opponent. It's a copycat league. So the only way that you get explosive plays is if you see how those explosive plays worked against your opponent, watching someone else from the previous weeks.
And you talk about creativity, that was one of the things we started off with was there's going to be a concerted effort to get the ball to Garrett Wilson. Now, Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner both showed up to training camp and OTAs or whatever this is that they're doing right now. I have a question for you because I don't remember seeing this in the past, but all the reporters, the Schefters and the Rappaports and the Rossinis and all these people are tweeting about this person showed up and this person showed up and giving props to guys under contract showing up. And it's like, what is this now that all of a sudden we have to sing the praises of guys who are for showing up to their freaking jobs? Like, oh, because I want to get a new contract. You're under contract. Like, I don't understand when this started where every 2 years guys have to get a new contract. And by the way, you know what's funny about that? The only guy who doesn't have a new contract in the league and hasn't gotten one in the last few years and is still showing up every year, Patrick Mahomes, the best player in the league. The team that no matter how many pieces they strip away from him, he keeps winning. That's the guy who keeps showing up.
Honestly, unlike the NBA and MLB, everyone that are true sports fans know that the NFL is not fully guaranteed.
Yep.
Your money is not fully guaranteed no matter if you're under contract. So guys that choose to hold out try to find the perfect time to secure more guaranteed money.
I know,
They
but now
try
you're
to
seeing
find it.
guys like, dude, just got paid, like TJ Watt. Like, didn't you just get paid, dude? Like, what?
Well, guys are trying to find different ways to maximize their money and their career earnings because of the structure of how everything's laid out from a guarantee standpoint. You have to find the right time to do it while you're under contract, have a little more guaranteed money to restructure. You have if you have 2 years remaining, that 1 year is guaranteed. Well, you don't want to get to that second year and try to renegotiate because
Right.
then they can just throw you away with no money. So you
Yeah.
want to try to find a way to try to negotiate that second to last uh year on your contract because that is a guaranteed time to get your money. In restructuring, like I said, man, it's an opportunity for you to maximize as much money as you can and get more guaranteed money, which I would hope to see, especially with the NIL stuff going on and the NCAA, that we can find a way to get guys fully guaranteed contracts in the National Football League. And then if you do that, Rami, then you don't see the holdouts. You don't see holdouts in the NBA and in the MLB because those contracts are fully guaranteed, and guys are trying to strategically go back to the table and outsmart those guys when they have enough money guaranteed on their contract to secure a different bag.
I don't think you'll ever see it though, because you look at the salary cap and you look at how quickly careers just turn over, where a guy's great one day and then the next day something pops up and he's not the same. I think the NFL is different than any other sport. You mentioned the guys getting paid in college. I think that's only made it worse. Look at the situation in Cincinnati with the rookie, right? That the first round pick, Shamar Stewart, who's holding out before he even got a contract ever. Like what? Like you're
Maybe he
just
wants
in
to
the
get paid in
league, dude.
Bitcoin. Who knows?
Yeah, but you just arrived in the league. Like, who do you think you are? And going back to Cincinnati for a second, to me, Joe Burrow, and it's not his fault, it's everyone. And you have a certain responsibility to the other players in the league. And I want you to push back on me because you're coming from the player's perspective. So I get it. So tell me where I'm wrong. But Joe Burrow, you're making 50 something million dollars a year. Maybe if you took $52 million dollars a year instead of 56, then Jamar Chase can get paid, and T. Higgins can get paid, and you could pay Trey Hendricks. And oh,
They
your
got paid
defense,
though. Those are that's the highest paid receiving room in the National Football League.
but
Jamar
okay, but
Chase and
he's
Higgins.
always, yeah, but he's always talking about, Burrow's always talking about, hey, we need to take care of our guys. We need to take care of our guys. We need to get better on defense. Well, wouldn't that incentivize you to take maybe $5 million dollars less a year when you're talking about generational wealth, money that his kids aren't going to spend in their lifetimes? Like, why don't you? Tom Brady always took a pay cut so that the
I was
team
I
around
was
him was better.
but Tom Brady also had a wife who was making $30 million, so he
Oh,
could afford
I
to
know,
take a couple pay cuts.
but we're not talking about even 7 or 11 or $15 million. We're talking about 50 or 55. Like the difference between 50 and 55 a year. You're Joe Burrow. You're the best quarterback. You're going to be making good money for the next 15 years in this league, right?
Hey, listen, I'm all for it. I was always a teammate guy. I want to say that
Like you're talking out of both sides of your mouth because
I am, and I'm trying, because
not you.
but
I'm
from
talking
a
about Burrow. Burrow's talking out of
oh,
both sides
I
because
was about to.
no, because on one hand, it's like, I want all my teammates to get paid and I want to improve the team around me. But on the other hand, you took every last dollar you could get.
But here's the thing: if he knows that the organization he takes a pay cut, um, yeah, I take a pay cut. But what are you gonna do with the money? Because once that money leaves your hands, it's no longer your money. So are you gonna go get the guys that I really want? If I take a pay cut, are you gonna get the guys up front that are gonna be able to protect me? Are you gonna get the guys that are, obviously I have my two guys on the outside, the receivers, 1, 2, who the number two guy should be a number one somewhere else, because they paid him number one money. So that's crazy to me anyway. But putting a guy in the backfield that's going to help me, protect me, that's going to be productive in the run game to open up the pass game. So when I give you this money, are you going to go get the right guys? And so there's a lot of things that, there's a lot of factors that come into taking that pay cut. Is he going to have to say so? I think Tom Brady had a lot of say so in New England, who he wanted, the guys that were cut, the guys that stayed in. He loved those guys, because he was like, hey, if you do what I tell you to do, and I take this pay cut, then I continue to do it. And we saw that each year with the New England Patriots. Man, they were not superstars. They were not flashy. They played basic stuff. They found ways to be, creative with Tom Brady because he was that guy. So, Joe is like, okay, if I'm going to give you my money, are you really going to go out and get the guys that we need from a free agent standpoint?
You know what's so interesting? The perfect example of this is San Francisco, because we saw when the players around Brock Purdy were great and they were paying all those guys and he's making $1 to $2 million a year, the team was really good. But when a bunch of those guys got hurt last year, the team wasn't as good. So what does he do? He goes out and gets $50 million a year. You think the team around you is going to be as good? Because we've already seen what it looks like when you don't have that great team around you, right?
Yeah, and Brock Purdy is definitely not a Joe Burrow. So
Exactly.
I don't I think we'll see and they got rid of Debo Samuel. So I think you'll see a
Well, do
downfall
you see
in
the
San
videos?
Francisco.
You see the videos of Debo at practice for for Washington?
Yeah, he looked like he put on a little weight.
You think?
He put on some weight.
Yes.
He put on some weight. Yeah,
Yeah.
and listen, once he retired, he better continue to work out because he might blow up.
Might. It looks like it's already happened. That's the kind of thing where it's like, I understand
That's a concern
Washington's
though
gonna.
for an organization. If I
I,
was his agent, I would be on him. Definitely these next 6 weeks that they got between
yeah.
training camp. That hey man, you need to think about losing some weight coming back.
Because guess what? Washington went out and made a bunch of moves. You know why? Because they have a quarterback on a rookie deal who's not making so much money, and yet he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So they're trying to capitalize on this window with Jaden Daniels. And I believe that Jaden Daniels could be there for 20 years and they could be competitive the whole time. They could be one of the best teams in the league. I think he's the best quarterback in that division. And that's a division with Jalen Hurts, Super Bowl MVP, and with Dak Prescott, right? So that's a really good quarterback division. We'll see about the other guys in New York, but he could be the best in that.
Russ. You don't like Russ?
Russ, I mean,
You don't
he's
like Russ?
50.
Ah, come
Like,
on.
he's
Come
old.
on. No, so what, man. Nah,
Russ,
but I'm with you though. I like Jaden Daniels.
I would
He's
take
a
Jameis
talent.
Winston over Russ at this point.
You said James.
Dude, Jameis is on the roster.
I know it, but
Think about that quarterback room. They need to have a documentary. You know they're doing the in-season Hard Knocks is going to be
they
the
need to do
NFC
it. They
East.
need to do it. They need to do it in there for
They
sure.
need to
With
get a
him,
camera in there because
anywhere that guy is, Jameson Winston, you want to put a camera in there.
but you got Jameis. You got Russ and his corniness and how all his catchphrases and stuff like that. Then you have the rookie who's like a Gen Z, the flowy blonde hair and like Jackson Dart from Utah, right? And then you have Tommy DeVito, who's still on the roster with his agent, the Italian guy. Yeah, exactly. Freaking Stellato. That's going to be scenes. That's
That's
a
gonna be
movie.
that'll be funny. Definitely be
Yeah.
funny.
So I think like, but again, getting back to the point with Washington, you pay all this money, you make these trades to compete right now with the rookie quarterback on the rookie deal. And if one of the big guys you went and got is not what you thought you were getting in Debo Samuel, like that's rough. And by the way, for New England, the same thing. Like they go bring in Stephon Diggs, and he's out on a boat somewhere with Tusi. Have you seen that? Have you seen those pictures?
Is that what it is though? Like
It's what it looks like. I've
benefit of the
never,
doubt.
yeah,
It
I've
is.
I've never
Could be kind.
experimented.
Could be candy. Who knows?
Could I mean
Could
it's
be some
certainly
really
a
good
certain
candy.
kind of candy, if you know what I
Yeah,
mean. Like,
yeah. I mean, listen. I'm. Hey, to teach their own. Obviously, you got to be careful with having cameras around you. I guess if you're gonna be a party guy, who knows? I don't know.
and you get in certain crowds, and you have certain celebrity girlfriends, and it puts the spotlight on you. I'm sorry. And guess who's doing that? Sauce Gardner. Sauce Gardner now with Ice Spice. He's going around out there. He's having fun. He's out on Long Island golfing. People are seeing him out and about. That's fine. Go ahead and do that. But it's going to put a spotlight on you when the season starts. And guess what? That's another guy who's asking for a new contract. So I want to ask you about that.
Hmm.
Talk about Garrett and how important he is. We talk about Sauce and how important he's going to be. And obviously, this side of him, where, this new regime, they just picked up the 5th year options on Garrett and Sauce. But Ian Rappaport reported yesterday that they're looking to extend them. Negotiations have started. Conversations have started to extend both Sauce and Garrett. If I'm the new regime, I want to see these guys' work ethic. I want to see these guys' attitude every day. And the fact that they showed up is great. Again, I don't think we should be giving pat on the backs for guys who are under contract showing up. I think that's your job. You're supposed to show up. But these guys have another 2 years, right? This year and next year left on their contract. Is now the right time to pay them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or
Both of those guys are key pieces.
I
They're
know,
key
but
pieces,
but
and
to
they're
me,
young
what
talent.
the new if I'm the new regime, you haven't proven anything to me. You guys have lost. All you've ever done is lost with this organization so far. No fault of your own. You guys are great players. Sauce took a step back last year. Garrett Wilson apparently was upset and complaining about Aaron Rodgers. So to me, I want to see you prove it. I want to at least give me a couple weeks into the season with the new regime watching you on a daily basis, watching how you approach practice, watching how you approach training camp, watching how you approach game day, I want to, if the new regime is all about building culture and building mentality, show me how you're bought into my way of doing things, Aaron Glenn and our way of doing things, the new Jet regime, and then we could talk contract. Why now?
Honestly, you're looking at two guys in the organization, same year draft, that
Yep.
were the offensive and defensive rookies of the year.
And
You're
so
talking
what?
and you're talking about a guy who was a two-time All-Pro and Sauce Gardner,
Yep.
who, if you look at what he's done, his track record has lived up to the hype of everyone saying Darrell Reeves filling his shoes. I think he's done that. He Sauce Gardner has done that. He's still ascending. He's still ascending in his career, and he's getting into his prime. Gary Wilson, you're talking about a guy that's durable, 51 games in 3 years. You're talking
Nope.
about a guy that has over every year 1,000 yard seasons
Yep.
in bad situations. So you're watching two
Hmm.
talented players continue to elevate in bad situations. Yeah, the organization isn't winning games, but when you want to build around some players, right? That's what it's about, building around players. You build around guys that do the things that they're doing. They're still being successful in their position. Like Sauce Gardner can't account for the other 10. Gary Wilson can't account for the other 10. He's been successful at a position. Gary Wilson has been successful at a position based on the position that we're inconsistent with at
Yeah.
quarterback. So that alone lets you know how talented these young guys are. That alone lets you know how these guys are. And I think they have that passion to win. Do they get emotional sometimes? I think so. But a lot of that has to do with the passion that they have for the game. They're not just going off into the corner saying, well, I got my 1,000 yard seasons. No, these guys want to win football games. And sometimes when you want to win football games, your emotions get the best of you. And this younger generation is different. Right? You got they're going to Twitter, yeah, which a couple of those tweets have been removed ever since
Hmm.
Eric Glenn has been a part of this
That's true.
organization. But maybe these two young guys to be in check and be with the straight and narrow, they need a guy like Aaron Glenn who is saying my way or the highway. Yeah, you're very talented, which those guys can go be starters on any other team in the National Football League. 31 other teams will gladly take those guys and make them a starter on their team. So he's telling you, like, yeah, I know you're good talent, but off the field, this is how we're going to do things moving forward, which I think will make their team better. So, yes, you have to secure these two guys for the future of your organization. You have to. They're young talent. You're not going to find that. And they're your picks. Let's be honest. Like, yeah, they're your picks. I know it's a different organization coming in, GM, head coach,
Hmm.
everyone. But those guys have constantly talked about being Jets forever. And that is a
Yep.
talent that is rarely going to come through this organization and want to stay and be a part of an organization that hasn't been winning. Guys are wanting to stay in an organization that hasn't been winning when they both are high caliber players in each of their positions.
And I get that, and I think that's a good thing, right? I want to see the organization take care of their own, and more than that, I think it's important to bring in. Eventually, you're going to bring in free agents. We talked about how this year wasn't a big year with splashy moves, but eventually, Muji and Glenn, they're going to want to bring in free agents, and proving that you take care of your own could go a long way to helping lure guys in here, right? That's part of it, proving that you're going to take care of the guys here. My question is more why now? Don't you want to see how Sauce Gardner performs without DJ Reed on the other side? Don't you want to see how Garrett Wilson, hey, you have your best friend here now. Let's see it, but you're still going to be the main focus. Everyone's going to be focusing on you because they know we're going to try and run the ball and you're the one guy on the outside. So, don't you want to see we went and got your friend to play quarterback. Let's see how that works out for you. I'm not telling them to hold it until the end of this year, but maybe just till week 2, week 3, or even till, the preseason. Let's see how they show up at preseason. Let's see how they carry themselves. Don't if it's all about culture shift, doesn't the new regime want to see what they have in these guys?
I think they already know. When those guys come in, they watch film, they evaluate film. These guys can cut and move around who they want to move around. You don't just, oh, we're going to pick up a 5th year option for no reason. So they
Yeah.
want them in the building. They want to find a way to hold them and renegotiate without these guys hitting the market because you don't want these guys entertaining the market because you know why? Because if you do that, guess what? Someone's going to pay them,
I
and
know,
then
but
you're
you
going to
have
lose
two
out on
years
the
of
talent.
control. I'm not telling you to wait to free agency.
But but
You
it,
could.
but it, but again, the players, like I told you, and guys holding out. Obviously, these guys are not holding out. They're not trying to bring that energy. But you want to time this thing perfectly to protect yourself as a player to negotiate and capitalize and secure guaranteed money and for the future. Like you have to do that because if you think selfishly, and you put the organization way before yourself, we all know that it is a cutthroat business. It is
Hmm.
a cutthroat business. So, you can have all these. I was taught, business first, right? So from a business standpoint, yeah, I'm gonna conduct myself in a professional manner. I'm gonna show the OTAs. But yes, I want to get paid because I deserve it. When I look around with what the organization has done these last 3 years, and I'm still being a top guy in my position, then in the back of my mind, I'm automatically going to want to get to the negotiating table because I'm watching other guys who are in better situations, who have better players that who accommodate me in their position, and I'm still at the top. Yes, I want to. Yes, I need to renegotiate because this is a short career.
Yep.
This is
Sure.
a very short career, and this next contract is going to push these guys into their prime. This is going to push these guys into their prime. If you wait, you got a short window to execute this. And as an agent, I'm telling them it's time to do this. And the reason is you could miss out on that window of opportunity. So these guys, I think, they deserve it. Like you talk about Garrett Wilson, who didn't have a real run game, who didn't have
Yep.
a consistent quarterback, who's getting double teamed and still finds a way to go for 1,000 yards. That's a special talent. That's a special talent. And as an agent, I'm telling you, as an organization, Rami, look at what my client is doing, and you guys still haven't figured it out in your organization. So yeah, we need to go back to the negotiating table, and they have to time that window and opportunity up at the right time.
Yeah, I agree to an extent. And again, we're not arguing on whether these guys deserve to be paid or not. It's just a timing thing. And I understand where you're coming, and that's why again, it goes back to the first conversation we had. I want the athlete's perspective on this because I can't relate. No one's offering me
Yeah.
these contracts. No one's coming here, and I understand it's a short career, and you have a window of opportunity to maximize it. But when we talked about with Burrow, when we talked about it goes back to everything and guys showing up versus guys holding out. So if you're telling me that just them alone showing up proves a mentality and proves an organizational shift, I appreciate that. And I appreciate you saying that because you have been in their seat. You can experience that. I do have one question for you. It's an interesting question about the new regime and the new mentality of the organization. And it's a weird one because you and I are both religious. Yes. I
Hmm.
think we've established that, and it's a big part of our lives, our religion and our faith and all that. But something I read is that Aaron Glenn, I don't know if it's mandatory, but he started daily Bible study for the organization, for the team. And I know a lot of the guys probably are religious. Do you think that's something that should be included though as part of team meetings, or is it like, hey, maybe keep that separate? The guys who want to do that, hey, we offer this, but maybe let's keep that separate from
Is
football.
it mandatory?
I don't know if I didn't read that it was mandatory, but I did read it was part of the team like schedule, like built into this team schedule.
Well, we had that. It just wasn't built into the itinerary. It was more, players in the team chapel set aside. I think he's
Okay.
I think he's letting guys know, hey, this is something that we offer as an organization. I don't think he's making it mandatory. Yeah,
Okay.
because I've played with guys who are Christians, Muslim, guys who are
Right.
Jewish on the team, guys who were atheists on the team. So I don't think he's pushing for it. I just think he's proclaiming it. He's, letting you know, hey, I'm open about my faith. This is available from that standpoint. It's available for guys that who want to come. Even on Saturday nights, we
Yeah.
have, a Christian chapel and a Catholic chapel, and two, a priest that comes in on two different sides for Bubba study the night before the game. So, I think he's just publicly saying, hey, look, I'm providing this. You come. If you don't, you don't. So
Yeah, that was just an interesting because when they tweeted it out, I was like, I wrote in the reply, yes, how does this help you win football games? And somebody got after me, he's
God
like,
can help you win football games.
yeah, but some people believe that. But guess what? If you don't put the effort in, God's gonna say, "Kiss my ass." You know what I mean? Like you got to have good talent and good players to win football games. Because
Yeah,
I don't know, I don't think you had it. Like the Patriots had Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. They
yeah,
might have had God too, but they had Bill Belichick and Tom Brady.
yeah.
The Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes. You know what I mean?
And Andy
So
Reid, let's be honest, Andy's
right,
a
and Andy Reid and Travis
generational
Kelsey
coach.
and all
Yeah.
those guys, and yeah, so that's kind of the point that I was making. Where and somebody tweeted at you was like, "Oh, Bilal, you're a religious person. How do you let your co-host say this?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm not anti. Again, I'm a religious person myself. My point is that I don't know if that contributes. People were tweeting about it like, "Oh, this is going to help them become a better football team." I'm like, okay, I don't think so, but okay, maybe
We'll see.
we will see. That's for sure, and we'll see in week one against their former quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. So real quick on this, I mean, as much as and I talked to Antoine Staley about this, who we've had on the show. He's a beat reporter for the Jets. He's like, all the Jets have to do is blitz him. He's old. They know how to beat him because they watched him play every day in practice last year. They watched him play during the games last year. Yeah, but you've not been a Jets fan long enough if you don't think he's going to come in here week one and drop 60 points on their head. Like, I don't care if Rodgers loses every game the rest of the season after week one. I don't care if he retires after week one. He's putting up 50 points against the Jets at MetLife Stadium in week one.
Hey, listen, and it's always those, it's always the guys that you want to play against your old team. You do. And I don't think he left out the way he wanted to leave out of the organization. So I think he's going to definitely make this one personal. And I think you will see the New York Jets blitzing and based on
Hmm.
Aaron Glenn's aggressive scheme on defense. So I think it's going to be an exciting game. Obviously this guy's older. I wasn't really a fan of him coming to New York. Obviously, as a player, like yeah, I like Aaron Rodgers, but I knew he wasn't going to be the fit because I knew that he was going to have a lot of say so because they wasn't used to having a guy
You said it
who
from day
has that
one.
who had
Yep.
that status. So I knew it was going to cause a lot of friction in the organization and probably some division in the organization. But I don't never wish bad upon any player. So, hopefully he has a successful season after week one. Honestly though, how relevant will they be when it comes to the playoff with him over there? I think this could be Mike Tomlin's first losing season since 2003. Even though they have the guy that they thought they wanted, and I think he was a third option. So, he
Did
should, huh?
Were you drafted by Mike Tannenbaum?
Yeah, I was. Mike, yep.
Mike
Mike too.
Tannenbaum said on ESPN yesterday that they're going to be irrelevant by Thanksgiving.
And I think so. I think when it's
You
really cutthroat
really?
time, yeah, I don't
Now
see
they play
them
in a tough
winning.
division. You got Lamar,
Yeah,
you got Burrow, you have
yeah.
the Browns are a good team, well coached team. We don't know what the quarterback
But they always
situation
play the
is,
Steelers
but
tough.
yeah,
Like,
yep,
they could lose 100 games, but they play,
yep,
the Cleveland Browns always play the Steelers very tough, no matter what
yep.
their record is. But I don't think they'll be in conversation talk when you're really like seeing the clear picture of the playoffs this year. No, I don't
Yeah,
think so.
but week one, you're gonna get those close up shots
You're
of
gonna
him
get it.
pointing at Glenn. He
Oh
hates
yeah.
Glenn. He's all, oh, the
He
Jets did
hates
me
Glenn. You know
wrong.
why? Because he said, "Yeah, you're a good football player, but you're not what we want in our organization." And so that's a
Wait,
good thing.
yeah, but also, don't you want to at least hear the guy out?
No,
Okay.
you've heard enough. You read enough, right? Like, how many
No,
times
because
did you and I get
but
aggravated at this guy showing up on podcast and talking and
yeah, but
contradicting
you and I
himself?
don't know him personally. Everyone who knows him personally, even Jermaine Johnson said he was texting with him and they're excited to face him. Like every teammate of his has said glowing things about him.
Yeah, but from a player, from a coach, he's not a friend. So he's looking at it as a coach, and probably what he's heard in the building. Like I always told you, you got players that go talk, man, have conversations. Hey,
People
but
definitely
who?
talk.
Oh, absolutely. They want to know what the locker room's like, and don't sit and fool yourself thinking that no player sat in his office and hey, give me a rundown of the roster, and don't think that he wasn't the first one. He was the top of the pyramid. How is this guy? And I'm guarantee you, multiple guys probably said something about how it divided based on podcasts and all this different stuff, like the off, like All that
Well,
takes place.
I know who definitely said something. We almost made it through a full podcast without talking about him, but I know the owner said something about him because the owner didn't like him. The owner at
That,
the end felt like he was taking personal shots at him, and so I think the owner shut it down before it even was an option. I
yeah.
don't think the owner was going to let Glenn bring Aaron Rodgers back, and I don't think it was make or break. Like I don't think that's what's going to make or break Glenn's tenure as a Jets coach. It's not about this year. I think it's about building for the future, and that's what we talked about. So having Aaron Rodgers here or not, maybe like what does it help you? Maybe you sneak into the playoffs this year, but still, it's just I would have liked for them to at least had a conversation, at least be somewhat open minded. You disagree? That's fine.
I totally disagree as a player.
Yeah,
Yeah, but because one of those things is like, you know, I don't know. Next
say
question.
it, spit it out.
Next question.
All right.
I don't know, man. He just, why do you have to fly out to see this guy or whatever it is?
He
And,
flew to them on his private dime, which he's told you many times.
well, okay. I mean, and I don't know. I just knew it wasn't a good look. And obviously, looking at film, they just knew it wasn't the guy.
Do you not trust Mike Tomlin?
Mike Tomlin, do I not?
I mean, but or is it different because he already has an established culture there in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, and I don't think Aaron Rodgers was their first option though in Pittsburgh. I think he was like the third or fourth option. That didn't work out. And one of the guys
They
that I think they wanted to keep was Justin Fields.
You're
And he
not the
felt
first
so
person to say
disrespected
that.
from last year.
Yeah.
He felt disrespected from last year, so he was like, "Forget it, I'm going." And
I
now
forget who said that.
now they stuck with this.
I think maybe Boomer said that on the morning show. Boomer Esiason said that they wanted to keep Fields, but Fields was like, "No, you benched me," and then didn't
Yeah,
go
like
back to me.
he's out. Yeah, he was
Yeah,
out, and you can tell based on Aaron Rodgers' contract. This is
it's
pretty
like
for him.
16
That's
million with incentives. Yeah,
yeah,
$11 million
so
base,
that
I
lets you
think.
know that he wasn't the first option
Yeah, but
for the
week one, he's
organization.
I don't know what he's gonna do all year, but week one, he's coming for them.
Yeah,
Did you catch any of the Knicks playoffs?
yeah, I did, man. We was
That
locked
was
in. My son and his friend, uh, they've been really close. We're really close to the Houston family.
right, right.
And they live in Louisville, so
Hmm.
they invited my son.
I told you I met him. I talked to him. I was like, "Hey, yo, I'm friends with BP, whatever." We talked when I was in
Yeah, yeah.
Detroit at one of the
So
games.
so we're really, even when I was up there, Al and I were
Yep,
good friends, and then obviously down here, our his nephew and my son are best friends,
yep.
and they ended up going to a game up there
In Indiana, right?
in Indiana. Yeah,
Yeah, I
so they
saw.
drove up, which is like an hour 45 from Louisville,
Oh,
and
not
they drove
bad.
up. I couldn't go, so my wife went. Jessie went. She ended up going, and they said that they never heard the
Arena
arena
so
that
loud.
loud,
Yeah, I mean, this Pacers team, look what they're up 2-1 on OKC. It's
yeah,
crazy.
and she
Which
said they
makes you
played
think
good.
like, why do you fire the head coach when
And the
clearly
Knicks,
OKC's
yeah,
this like when clearly Indiana's this good? And
they're
this comes
good.
back, by the way, it's come back to ownership.
Yeah.
So
Why
like
fire the guy? I mean,
I,
you did something that they hadn't been done in 25 years.
and you're building it the right way. And that's
And
my
then you go
fear.
reset the
That's my fear with the Jets
Jason
because they're
Kidd,
building it the
Jason
right
Kidd,
way.
Jason
They're
Kidd.
build and we'll see. But again,
You
you're
you
building
think
it the
he
right
come back?
way. And then when once you're building it the right way, the owner wants to play with the toy again. And
Yeah.
that's the problem. The owner saw people
And
on
they can do
Twitter,
whatever
saw
they
people on
want as an
social
owner,
media.
right? They'll do whatever they want and what they
I know,
feel.
but like I think this is going to set the Knicks back, and I'm terrified of what happens with the Knicks now because the run was really fun, but
Yeah.
how many times did we see this Pacers team do this? And you heard Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson talk about it on the podcast. They were talking about how, what we needed to do better was close out games. And that's the main thing. We didn't close out games. We need to learn to close out games. Everyone's lost a game like now, even OKC's lost a game like that, where
Hmm.
at the end they're right there and the Pacers just come back. Every team has done that against the Pacers. So I don't think it's about closing out games. It was about more effort on defense, not letting them get out and run. Carl Anthony Towns stepping up on the pick and roll, and those are the things Tom Thibodeau preaches. So the players thought that no, we were good at all those things, we just didn't close out. I I, I think it's a mistake. But the run was fun, so we'll see where it goes from here. Bill Belichick,
UNC.
yeah, what do you think? He ends up coaching there. There's been some issues with his lady friend.
I think he'll get it on the wraps. He's going to coach there definitely, and I think
You
he's
think
going to
he's
change
gonna?
that.
All right, I hope so. It's
I
been
want to see him coach college ball, man.
it's been
You know,
interesting though. Have you seen some of the stories, some of the headlines?
yeah. I mean, I read a few headlines, but
Pablo Torre,
nothing too crazy. Yeah, nothing too
nothing too
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah, I need. I'm saying from my standpoint, like I'm not like
The
following it. Like,
the Bill Belichick that you knew, which you didn't know him well, but you did work out for him, right, at one point,
yeah,
and you also played against him for years. Is that guy the kind of guy you could see running around with a 24-year-old doing, poses on the beach and all that stuff? Like doing interviews where she's storming off and yelling at producers? Like,
no,
right.
no. I mean, I don't know how that even started. What did it start on a flight somewhere?
That's what they say. But now people are saying that when she was 19,
Oh
there were
man,
videos of her
stop
sitting
it.
in his seats at Gillette Stadium 5 years ago.
That's crazy. Okay.
I I know.
I mean, like I said, I haven't been really following it like that. But
And
now
then
I
maybe
guess
you
I have to
start
follow up
you start to think
with
about the
it.
fall off at the end of his tenure in New England, and you wonder, right?
Yeah. I mean, no, I mean, he still won some games.
Mm,
Obviously he didn't have a
did he at
Tom
the end?
Brady. He didn't
Yeah,
have Tom
no, yeah, he
Brady,
didn't have Tom
but
Brady, and they stopped winning with Drake May and Cam Newton, and
yeah.
well, not Drake May. Drake May's fine with who was the kid
Uh,
before him?
from Alabama.
Yeah, Mac Jones.
Mac Jones. Yeah,
He
Mac.
stinks. Um, by the
What
way, like
Alabama
that's
quarterbacks were good?
well,
Milrow,
hopefully
I
Jalen
don't know.
Milrow.
Hopefully, but who has been good from Alabama that outside
Well,
of D linemen, linebackers, running backs, receivers, and safeties, and O linemen?
Tua is okay.
He's okay.
You know what's so
Jalen
funny?
Hurts,
Jalen Hurts is technically an Alabama quarterback, right?
yeah,
Technically.
that's the only one that I know.
Um, you know what's so interesting about Miami? Zach Wilson said a quote this week. He said he's been told for the first time that he's late on some throws. It's like, dude, you've been told that for the first time. Everyone's been yelling it. Anyone who has eyes can see
That
it. What
guy's
do you mean?
delusional. I don't want to hear
You
that. That's
needed to be told?
delusional. That's
Yeah, like
delusional.
maybe it's the first time you're hearing it because you
Yeah,
want to listen to it for the
he,
first time, but you've been
he's
told that
delusional.
many times.
Yeah, he's delusional.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
If there's one guy I believe in Mike McDaniels, I think he's a great coach. If there's one guy he can't turn around, it's that kid.
yeah.
Maybe he matures a little bit. Who knows? I don't know.
Who knows?
That sounds
But here's the
crazy.
thing: he's gonna go be a backup for years.
Well, no, because guess what? He's the backup in Miami, and Tua gets hurt a lot. He's going to play this year.
Oh
You
no,
know
there you
Zach
go.
Wilson's going to end up playing this year.
And there you go.
I don't have any
He'll
faith he's
have
going to be
a
any good.
that Zach Wilson's gonna have a 10, 12 year career. Watch.
Why? Because of the talent?
Just back up. That's just the name and hard to find backup quarterbacks, I guess, that's willing to be a backup quarterback.
You know what? As bad as the Zach Wilson, which led to Aaron Rodgers, as bad as it's gone for the Jets, can you imagine paying Trevor Lawrence $50 million a year, like the Jaguars?
Mm-mm.
He's not good either.
He's
Like
not good. He's not
it's
good.
crazy. I don't know what's wrong with him because he was like can't miss prospect.
Yeah, he is not good. And I don't know how that's gonna sit with Travis Hunter playing offense when it truly comes down to it, because now he's
You
gonna take the heat off of Trevor Lawrence
you think he's going to
about
play
being
both
good.
sides?
I think he'll play both sides, but not as much as people were thinking. I think he put in a couple gadget plays. They probably let him play like OTAs, probably play offense just to see, learn some of the terminology and language. But I think if he wants to play a long, successful career, he needs to be on the defensive side of the ball and then get 10, 15 gadget plays offensively when you
I
really
mean,
need
if
them.
you do that, you're still one of the like most unique best players ever, right? Like,
Absolutely. I mean, look at his mentor. Deion Sanders did it.
yeah,
The only
if
guy to
he's
ever hit a home run and score a touchdown in the same week.
yeah, exactly. No, it's true. And if you play great defense, but he has to be great at least one of them. He
Yeah.
can't be okay at both. If
Yeah.
he's great on one side and then solid on the other side,
Well, that's why you have to
yeah.
pick a side. You have to pick a side and then say, okay, I can go over here for a couple gadget plays. When, yeah, you could be good at receiver, but why would we use you at corner? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I would rather have you full time at corner, and then if we need you on offense to score some points or get some yards or get creative on offense, then we'll use you. I think it's easier to convert the offense, put in a couple plays, and say, hey, yeah, go lock down the number one guy
Right.
for 10 plays, 15 plays. No, go lock down the number one guy, and then for 15 plays, come touch the ball maybe six, seven times.
What's going to be crazy is to see Abdul Carter. Like, he drops to third. And now he's going to be playing on a D line with Dexter Lawrence and with Brian Burns and with Kayvon Thibodeau. That Giants D line, they're going to be tough.
It'll definitely be tough.
And they better be because those quarterbacks, like we talked about in that division already,
I
they're
mean,
going to be
honestly,
good.
look at the defensive line that I had. I mean, you had Muhammad Wilkerson, you had Sheldon Richardson. Who
Young
was that
Leonard
around it?
Williams.
Uh, who was that?
Was young Leonard Williams on on those
Leonard
teams?
Williams. Yeah, we had Leonard Williams. Who else? We had
When
some
you
good.
came in, you didn't have Sean Ellis anymore, right?
No, Sean Ellis was already gone.
Okay. And
Big
Mike
Ellis was
DeVito
gone.
was gone.
So DeVito, no, DeVito was there. So I
Oh,
played
he
with
was
Mike.
there?
Yeah, Mike DeVito. He was there definitely. Him snacks. So Mike DeVito
Oh,
snacks.
Snacks Harrison was great too. Yeah.
Yeah, Muhammad Wilkerson. So we had. I've been a part of some good defensive lines. So
Yeah, and Quinnen was showed up at the end of your career, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah, yep.
all right. Talk about you're wearing the hat. I got the sweatshirt on. Talk a little bit about your foundation, what you're doing. I saw you running a football camp too, so you got a lot going on. Talk about that. Plug that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I wanted to get real creative with my camp, top flight camp, trying to bring in some of the best rising fifth to eighth graders in the state of Kentucky right now. And I pretty much established a very special group of coaches who have NFL or college experience, guys that are now coaching at the high school level. Some of my coaches have coached on national coaching staffs like the All American Game, FBU, like Team Kentucky national teams. Guys that are what we call the best guy in their class, that we call it Mr. Kentucky football, which they were the best guy in that state that year. You got guys that have that. You got guys who have state championship rings as players and as coaches. And then there'll be assisted by the top Division I players here in the state of Kentucky, guys who have 15, 20 plus offers, who are the top five, top 10 players in the state of Kentucky. And we're gonna cap it off around 100 kids, man. And I got one of the best performance coaches here, uh, taking lead on some of the things, teaching the proper mechanics of the 40-yard dash, the L drill, the 10-5-10, the quick shuttle, um, the vertical jump, trying to generate power from sprinting. Like there's so many things that, apply to be the elite player or get drafted, or guys who go on to these camps that need to have the numbers in order to get scholarships.
Hmm.
This is something that we're looking to kind of make it a tour next year. It's at a very great location, indoor, outdoor access at King Louis in Louisville, Kentucky. Like
What are
I
the
said, man,
dates?
the date is July 12th.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, July 12th. And this is one of many programs that we have in our organization. My nonprofit organization, 29th and Ninth Foundation. It's a nonprofit organization committed to bridging the gap between mental health and sports. And all of our programs equip athletes with the tools, resilience that they need to thrive in competition and on the field. So,
Yeah, and you
we
can go, you can support Bilal's
yeah,
organization. If you're watching this on YouTube, you see the hoodie I'm wearing right now, Gotham Crew, Gotham
yeah.
City Crew. They do a
And they
great
did
job.
a
Bilal's wearing the
collaboration.
hat.
They did a
Yep.
great collab, and I'm about to do another collaboration with someone who's a part of the Gotham City crew, where
Oh,
she's
nice.
gonna she's gonna meeting the young lady. She wants to all the proceeds at the tailgate are going to go to our nonprofit organization, and
That's awesome.
so
Which game do you know?
I'm not sure yet. We gotta
Okay.
get down to the logistics and
But we'll
then
talk about it
lock
because
it
I'm
in.
sure you'll come up for that.
Yeah, and definitely come up, or hopefully it's something that's in
In
Cincinnati.
Miami.
They play in
Oh,
Cincinnati this year,
Cincinnati,
so
right? Oh, do
that's up the
they?
road from us. Yeah.
What
So
date is that? Let me look that up. Do you know off the top of your
I
head?
think it's October 26th, one day before my birthday. So
Oh, happy birthday.
yeah.
Um, a little early, but Jets schedule. Let's see. This is great podcasting right here. They are in Cincinnati yeah, October 26th. You're right. I don't know what week that is, but it's October 26th. It looks like it's week uh one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. Week
Week
8,
eight.
week
Yep.
8 or week 9, something like that in Cincinnati. All right, awesome. So I'm looking forward to that. We'll get all the details on that. So go support that. Until next time, it's good catching up.
Yep.
We'll talk about the Jets. We'll do this a little bit more often,
Yeah.
right? I do have a deeper dive to talk about the Knicks and Jets and how I think they're similar. So maybe that episode is going to come out at some point too. But glad we got to do this and only good things hopefully for this team.
Oh
It's
yeah.
a much more positive than the last time we talked, right?
Let's do it, man. I'm with it.
All right, let's go Jets. I'll talk to you, dude.
All right.